Hi there, class. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started on the Vacation Home Design presentation board. This is just a preliminary version. We just want to get things rolling and get it started. We'll have more time to refine and fix up our presentation boards, and eventually they can look like this. This is something you can download or just preview right here in Canvas. I've got a downloaded version here so you can see the whole thing. This is an example that Brother McCabe did that just looks awesome. And we hope that everybody ends up with a really cool looking poster like this. What is some of the components that are important? Well, it's got a rendering. It's got several things that we've already worked on. A massing model, elevations, a floor plan, a site plan, and some other visuals that you can create. Plus a nice looking background and some color blocks combined with text. This is for the video that you'll eventually make too, so it's got a little link to be able to watch the video. And what we want you to do is come up with a main idea or a theme that accompanies the overall design of your project well. So in this example, you've got this large swooping canopy, and that's going to be mimicked as a background in the poster. You can do a lot of Google searching for architectural presentation boards, and you'll find all kinds of things that you can use for ideas. Here's just a general Google search, architectural presentation board. Some of them may be a little bit less relevant to what we're actually doing, but many of these, let's go to images here so I can see these a little bit better. Many of these will just give you ideas. You know, what can I do to make my building look really presentable and just make it look awesome because of the poster design. See, here's a great one. Let's open that one so you can see it bigger. Yeah, you can't. Well, I'll just go right back to this one. I think this one might be able to enlarge. No. Okay, well, you get the idea. You can, let's try it this way, shall we? There we go. Graphics everywhere combined with text. It just looks awesome. Read through the assignment description so that you get a better idea of just exactly what is required for this assignment. And it will tell you all the things that you have to put on your poster, but there's a lot of flexibility. There are a lot of decisions that you have to make, and some things you have to put on and some things you could put on. Everything in this area is required. Everything down below is something that you can choose if you want to place that on your poster or not. Okay, if I go back and look at the example, one of the really nice things that's happening here is lots of overlapping. This overlaps the color block behind it. This overlaps the image in front of it. Something we've already done previously is we've got these shapes overlapping the boxes behind them. There's lots of things like this that we can do, and we're going to use a combination of Photoshop and Layout to do this. And Layout is a software that comes with SketchUp when you buy it. And in the assignment description, there is a file that you can download. It's this one right here. It's called the VDC 285 Presentation Board Template in Layout. And when you open it, it will look like, not like this. I'll take these out. It'll look like this. It'll just be empty. It'll have a couple of placeholders if you want to use things like this to say, I'm eventually going to have a rendering and it's going to go here or it's going to go here. And you can grab the grips here and adjust the size. If you hold down Shift, you'll be able to adjust the size so that it keeps the proportions of the rectangle constant. And then this would be a little placeholder for your QR code that'll eventually link up to your video, which you don't have yet. Down here, you see you've got a little title block, so you can put your name and information in there. And then all the rest of this space is for you to design and dabble. And if you want more than one poster, that's great. I think it can be hard to put everything onto just one. And what you saw me doing earlier was just experimenting with bringing things from Revit. So that's what I want to show you next. Here's a floor plan, and I can't seem to find my colored version. I must have lost it, so I'm just going to show you how to do this with a black and white floor plan. But in your own, you should take the color version that you've been working on, and you should export that. And one thing that I had to do was go into my floor plan and turn off anything that I don't want to show up. You probably don't even have tags, for example, but if you did, you'd want to make sure to select them all and hide them. If you've got section markers or elevation markers that need to be turned off, now is the time to do that. And then you go to File, Export, and we're going to export this as a JPEG. So Images, Image. It's going to ask you how big should you make this, and I would dial that up to about 2,000 pixels. Image size fit to 2,000 in the horizontal direction, or whatever direction is largest, vertical or horizontal, depending on the image. And then I do like to select some boxes over here: hide reference work planes, hide unreferenced view tags. You probably have already turned them off, but just in case. And then you have to tell Revit where do you want this to go. So just choose a folder and select current window. And that should just select everything or export everything directly outside of the walls of your floor plan. And then I'll click OK. And it should prompt me in just a second here to name this thing. And I think mine is just thinking. But that in general is how it works. Mine is getting confused, and I'm not sure why. Let me pause and try it again. Okay, I think I was the confused one. It just puts it in there. It's just going to place that file directly inside the folder, and it didn't prompt me to name it or anything. I do want to point out too that if you're not satisfied with what you get, go ahead and try it again. And you can always try the visible portion of current window, and that will show everything that you can see through here. That's the visible portion of my current window. Okay, and I'm going to try this just one more time. It's going to say that, yeah, I already have one. So again, that just verifies it's not going to allow me to give it a new name. It'll just override whatever I've done previously. So I'm going to hit no on that. Okay, and then when you have your layout file downloaded, you can import anything into here. So I'll go File and Insert. And there's my floor plan. And initially when it comes in, it's not going to be to any specific scale, and that's okay. We don't need it to be. In fact, what we want to do with this is just resize it so that it looks good on the page. And I'm holding down Shift. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to get rid of that white space. See, if I were to do this and just pull that down, it's going to scale and resize everything. So the white space that we have behind there, for right now, we're going to deal with. There is one thing that you can do, but it's not going to be perfect. It won't cut all the way around the floor plan. And that is to go and create a new shape. Just create a rectangle. And I'm going to pull this up so that it just overlaps, just barely. Okay, if I select both of these and right click, I can say create clipping mask. And that reduces some of that white space. I can't get rid of any more than that until we go into Photoshop, and that will be for another day. So for right now, you can simply use this to say, where do I want to place my floor plan and approximately what size should it be? And again, this is all just a preliminary thing. It's just meant to be a way for you to start planning. Okay, and remember, every time you resize, you got to hold down Shift. Okay, now let's do this one more time, except that this time I'm going to try to bring in the picture of my house from the outside. Okay, and it'll look like this. And you'll notice that in the poster, where did that go? That's in my, here it is. You'll notice that we've got these really cool outline or curved corners on this image. And if you want to do something like that, then you can simply draw it. You can use the line tool, the arc tool, the rectangle tool, but you can draw something even with rounded edges, for example. and do the same thing that we did before. I can now select this with the image behind it, and I can create a clipping mask, and now that's got this rounded edge. Okay, and once again, reposition that however you want to. In Revit, in order to create a visual like that, I went into a 3D view, such as the type that we've been creating recently, and I went File, Export, same as last time, Images and Animations, and I did all the same stuff. I chose the current window. I did Fit To and gave it a larger size. I didn't really have much that I needed to hide here. And then I gave this a location. And I am worried that it's gonna tell you, if you have a floor plan in there, that you can't save this new one without replacing it. So anytime you create one, you probably need to go into that folder and rename it, just like mine says floor plan. As long as you give it a name, a unique name, then you can come back into Revit and you can export it into the same location, and it would be named with the same name as the project file. And I could have sworn that was different before. I don't know if Revit is glitching on me now. I could have sworn that before it was asking me to put an actual name in there. But because I'm not seeing that now, we're just going to have to go with this method of going into the folder, giving it a unique name. Oh, here's what you can do. I know what you can do. You can actually name it right here. You can just say, I'll go Revit space 3D exterior, and then click OK. And then it will always allow me to create a new one, as long as I give it some kind of a unique name there. Okay, let's go back into layout. And same thing can be said here. I've got all this white space and I don't want it there. There's a way that we can go into Photoshop later on, and we'll fix that just by taking out the white space, and then you can have the plain background showing up here. Okay, the last thing to do is to use shapes. And if you want some kind of a swooping shape across here, you can either use the line tool in combination with arcs, or you can create shapes. So for example, if I wanted some kind of a rectangle, I might be concerned that it's going to cover up something else, and you can arrange these. Here's the arrange tool, and I'll say arrange, send to back. Or I could have grabbed the little text and said bring to front, but you can see that now this is behind the text block. It's also behind my floor plan. And then over here in the properties, you can give this some, you can change its settings. So right now it has a stroke all the way around, which is a black stroke with a 1 point thickness. And there are different line styles that you can use. And you can turn the stroke on and off. So now it's just a white block. And you can change the color of it too, to something that you like. And you can turn the fill off entirely if you want to, by clicking here. I guess it's too late for that now that I've given it a color. And anyways, any combination of shapes and imagery is what we're trying to do here. And remember that in order for you to come up with a final version, you do have to put in this empty rendering, because as you plan your poster, we just need to be able to say, we know that eventually the rendering will be ready, and it's got to have a spot where it can be placed. So at the minimum, you got to put in one rendering. You can do more than one. And at a minimum, you do have to have at least, well, not a minimum, but you do have to have this QR code in there too. And then just come up with something that looks great. Again, I encourage you to go to the internet and find lots of good examples. Try to come up with a theme that matches something important in your building or in your design. And feel free to look at the posters that are out in the hallway from last semester. They'll give you some great ideas. Now, the last thing, let's go look at this one more time. These all have names, and they're They're tagged and titled. And that can also be done in Layout. Layout has this little scrapbook down here. Any one of the categories that you go to, you can pull something from. So if I wanted this tree, for example, I can grab that tree and pull it over here. And I could put those all the way around the house. I probably shouldn't put it halfway in the house, should I? And any one of them that you like, you can try out here and move it around, rescale or size it. But there's also some title blocks. That's what all these TBs are for. Let's try a TB traditional. You can pull this in. A lot of these will try to have scale, and we're not wanting to use scale here. We can certainly ignore that. But in the description here, I can put in, maybe it's my floor plan. And for scale, I can always just say NTS, not to scale. Whoops. Oh, let me just take that whole thing out. There. And this is telling us the page number and the view number, or I guess the letter in this case, but I might have an A, B, C, D for all of them on one page. And then I can drag that down to my floor plan. And again, just imagine that the white isn't there because that's something we can get rid of later. And that's what you need to know to get started. So have fun with it, be creative, and be a little bit loose at this point because there's still so much time to go in and make adjustments. Okay, good luck.